I've got James here with me, one of my students that I've been working with for a few months now, and I believe he has a great story that we would love to share with you guys. So right from the jump, James, want to just maybe tell people, who you are, what you do, maybe where you're from, just any little background about you, so people kind of just understand your situation and I guess like where you came from.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is James Alexander Lichtu. I was born and raised in the Bay Area. Currently, I work as an ambulatory care pharmacist full time. It takes a good amount of my time, but I'm still always looking for other ventures to do.
And did you have like any real estate background or anything, any knowledge of Airbnb maybe before we started working?
No, I knew nothing at all. I'll guarantee you, I started from zero when I started the mentorship program.
Got it. And why, like, you said you're a pharmacist, right? So, like, generally people know like pharmacists make pretty decent money, generally speaking, right? So I guess like, why did you look into whether it's like another side business or a side hustle or maybe even specifically Airbnb arbitrage?
And I would agree with you, Kevin. Well, being a pharmacist, it does pay well. My ultimate goal for pursuing this Airbnb journey was because I wanted to start a family. And with starting a family, that does require a lot of work and time for both partners, for both the husband and wife. And I did want to ultimately decrease the amount of work that my wife would have to do. So I wanted to do the Airbnb mentorship program because I did want to retire my wife ultimately from the money that I would or the income that I would get from this from Airbnb.
And then maybe before Airbnb arbitrage, have you looked at anything else? Did you maybe try to start Airbnb arbitrage before me? Like just maybe any other background besides that?
I would say prior to finding your program, I did do some independent research for maybe about a year, but I was always stuck in the research portion. I never did anything more, didn't do any market outreach, but only just research markets, looked at where I could go, but never pulled the trigger. I would say that I was one of those people that was on Instagram and then I would see all these ads about different types of people promoting their Airbnb program. I would look at their free resources and use that as a kind of a starting point to see what I could do. Ultimately, it didn't really lead into anything. There's so much information just with regards to like real estate, Airbnb, short-term rentals that it's really hard to just confine it to really know what you're supposed to do because there's so many options, there's so many ways you can go about it.
Yeah, definitely hear you. And before you started with me and the mentorship, were you like unsure or nervous about anything at all? Because I know you earlier you said you didn't come from any real estate background, any Airbnb background, and doesn't seem like you started a business before this or even attempted something before.
To be completely honest with you, Kevin, I'm not the type of person that likes to live a dangerous life. And there's a big risk that comes with starting any kind of business. I with Airbnb, with the research that I looked into and just looking at the cost of rent per properties, it's very daunting, very concerning, and I felt like I couldn't go through looking for properties or finding an opportunity by myself because as I said previously, I don't have any prior background. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's difficult to say, but it was an eye-opening experience to really learn from scratch.
Good. So yeah, now that we kind of know a little bit about your prior experience before the mentorship, and also you didn't know anything, but maybe tell people how your journey was, the process, maybe where your portfolio is at right now, or how it's been performing over the last few months, and whatever you want to share. Just talk about your experience.
And when I ultimately decided to do your program was when, to be completely honest with you, is when I found out my wife was pregnant. Once I found out my wife was pregnant, I think that's what really put the heat under my feet to really kind of lock in. And I know that I really had to pursue something in a meaningful way. So that's what ultimately led me to starting your program. Now, when I started your program, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did all the research, all that independent research, looked at all the resources. But even starting your program, I didn't really know anything. Kind of going through your program, going through the courses, it really kind of showed me that I was going about everything completely wrong. I think that you were able to, going through your program, it really helped me, or it really fine tuned everything. So instead of me having to like think, oh, I could do this, I could do that, but you kind of just gave me the right direction to go where I wanted to go. Uh, Kind of going from there, when we started the program, I was still trying to figure out where I wanted to start looking at for properties. The advice you had given me was it was very simple yet effective. It gave me a direction to go, and I was able to find it a market to start in. Um, Currently, I have two properties in Dallas, Texas. They're both single family homes with about a few minutes apart. This is would be my third month hosting. Fortunately, I was able to secure Superhost after about only 1 month, one full month of hosting, which is really good. I would say that from the start, after we were able to find our market and then doing the market outreach, that was probably where I hit my first challenge, I would say. There's so many properties or so many different opportunities that are available that you really just have to evaluate the location, the property itself, and overall, if you can add to it or elevate it in a way that would make it better or perform better than what you would see other in the market. Um, after going through the market outreach and then finding properties, that was probably the, after that, probably the next biggest challenge for me was securing a deal or after securing a deal. In securing a deal, there's a lot of negotiations that come into play. And from someone like myself with a healthcare background, that's not something that I was very familiar with. Fortunately, because of Kevin's mentorship program, he kind of gave me the tools to expand the skills that I've already had at learning in healthcare to help me become more than just a pharmacist, but also become like a business professional. I think that beyond even the extra income that I am obtaining from my Airbnbs, the additional benefit of doing your mentorship program, Kevin, was what really ultimately helped me was the the kind of the additional negotiation or communicative skills that I feel like I lacked when I in my normal healthcare job. After I was able to, actually, before I even go into that, it was a struggle really finding a property initially. I was fortunate enough to secure a two property deal or two property agreement that which led me to my two properties I have now, and ultimately after that, I thought that I was in the clear. I thought everything was going to be all good and great. But that's actually where everything just starts to begin. Um, how would I say I started this program in roughly about March of this year, and we were probably doing property outreach for about a month. I was able to sign the lease by about end of April. So maybe like 4 to 6 weeks of market outreach, trying to find properties, trying to find which one really suited my needs and what I was looking for. After securing the property and having uh, pr- the lease signed, the next step was getting the property set up. Of course, that does take a lot of time to get a property set up, but thankfully, with the help of Kevin, I was able to obtain obtain support or help in the Dallas area. I'm from California. Now, I'm not from Texas. So I did come and visit the properties a bit, check it out, see how it looked. But Kevin was ultimately the one who connected me with the right people to really have additional help to help set up these properties. Uh, Now, I would say that from the beginning of this Airbnb journey, that this would I say that it is a lot of work. I would say it is a lot of work, but did I learn a lot throughout the experience? 100%. I am now, um, after getting the properties fully set up, the work actually just starts now. That's actually that's actually the easiest part because now the next part is operating an Airbnb. I've never in my life ever had to manage people. I was never a manager. I was always just someone that wanted to help people in any way that I could, which is one of the reasons why I chose to go into hospitality, is just to give them the best experience that they can. You definitely in my first few weeks of going through Airbnb, I didn't really know what I was doing, or I thought that I knew what I was doing. But Kevin really kind of gave me a lot of support and advice in order to operate in a way that would provide benefit for both the guests and my business.
Maybe like, do you want to briefly talk about if you want to, like how your portfolio, the two houses have been doing over the last maybe full month of June and July? How is trending right now? And did you expect to kind of hit those numbers, or did you expect to kind of perform the way the properties are performing right now?
So I would say in my 2.5 months, 3 months operating, when I started out in May, and it was a little slow start, which is completely understandable. As I'm still learning the ropes and I'm still trying to figure out how everything's going. But also, it is a new property, so guests wouldn't be as willing to want to go to a new property that does not have any reviews. So in May, it was a little bit slow. I think over time, as I was able to obtain more reviews and get more guests to come and stay at the property, I saw a lot of improvement in not only the reviews but the property itself. Uh, of course, the biggest thing that everyone's looking for is the monetary aspect of Airbnb. And I would say that, once I hit I really saw a gradual increase of my revenue from May to June to July. I am still seeing some improvement in the properties and kind of seeing how the Dallas market is performing as I go throughout this experience. But I would say that even after my second month of hosting, it really motivated me to really want to expand and do more just because I enjoy the work that I'm doing, just really being able to provide some level of an experience to my guests to really make them feel like they're not just going to stay at Airbnb, they're really getting an experience when they go to visit whenever they go to visit Dallas, Texas.
How are you managing the two properties and also balancing your corporate job, the pharmacist job during the daytime? Is it manageable? Is it hard? Is it doable at all for someone that could be in a similar position?
I would say, so I currently work as a 40-hour full-time employee, normal 8 to 4:30 job. After that time, usually I'm going to be diving into my additional Airbnb work. Would I say is it doable? Yes. Is it difficult? Maybe in the first few months or first few weeks when you're setting everything up, kind of going through and finding your properties. But as soon as you really hit your stride and start to understand everything, it starts to get a lot more manageable doing it every day. Um, with anything, when you start from the beginning, it's going to be very difficult. Like you just started, you learn a new skill, you join a new sport. The learning curve will always be difficult, but once you really get used to everything and kind of get a handle of how to manage it, when you manage your own time on top of your normal work, everything just becomes a lot more reasonable and understandable and very easy. Um, in If I was to quantify how much time I really spend every day on look on my Airbnb work, I would say it averages out to maybe about 1 to 2 hours if I'm working on it every day. But if there may be times where like I'm busy on some days and then I'll have to kind of push everything into one day. There are times when I just even work on it sometimes maybe about like 30 minutes a day and then just increase the amount of time I work on it on the weekends. But it is very manageable to still have a full-time job, to manage Airbnb and still have a social life. 100%.
What would you say, like, is the reason why you're able to manage in such a short amount of time? I think when you first told me when we first worked together, like you were wondering if it was even doable for someone that works 40 hours a week.
So with, at baseline when in starting Airbnb, if you have a property and that's all you have, of course it's going to be very difficult. Thankfully, there are various things or various softwares that we use to help automate the day-to-day things that don't require us. For me personally, I do use Hospitable, which does provide me additional kind of support in terms of just automating a lot of the day-to-day work that I have to do. Because it does schedule a lot of these messages, it decreases a lot of the um, guest messages that I'll be receiving. So then it's really seamless. They really just they just check into there. They check in. I have a smart door lock at the front, so they just self-check in on their own, come into the property, they set up, they do whatever they want, and then when they leave, they just check out. Sometimes I have guests that don't even message me when they're there, and those are my favorite guests. I'm all the way here in California. The property's all the way in Texas, but I know everything that's going on. I think the last thing that I didn't touch upon yet is how I have eyes or vision of both properties. So currently I use the Ring security camera system to have access for my properties in the throughout the exterior, not the interior, just the exterior part. So I'm always fully aware of what's going on or what guests are coming in. So I do have ultimate security or full round security and management of the properties all the way from California. I have no worries in managing it because I have eyes all the time.
What would have been, in your opinion, the hardest thing without any guidance?
In my opinion, I would say the hardest part of the process is the beginning. The beginning being the market outreach portion, the beginning being the part where you're going to be negotiating your property deals. Uh, like I said, my background is in healthcare, most likely in helping people. I was never a businessman in nature. I am naturally an introverted person, but the biggest difficulty that I would say I experienced through this whole process was having to find the right market to go into and also just finding the right property as well as negotiating to get that property. All of these in combination are really daunting things. And because it was the beginning of the whole journey, I always struggled to start anything. Once I got the ball rolling after getting the properties, it was a lot more. I felt a lot more I felt more comfortable about everything. But before that, you're really just trying to find a property and you're not really sure if this property will be profitable or if if it's nice for Airbnb or if it'll get guests. I think that portion was where I found found the most difficulty with. And I was thankful with doing your program because you really helped me fine tune where I was supposed to, what I should do and how I should really think about the process. I think the biggest thing that really got me in your mentorship program was when of course, when anyone thinks about looking for Airbnb properties, they're going to be looking for, oh, I'm trying to find a place that's like popping. I'm going to try to go to Miami. I'm going to like get a really cool Airbnb property and it's going to be crazy and it's going to be awesome. But that's not how you should think. I think that the way that you taught me was you want to pick places that you would want to visit and you would want to go to or go on vacation to. And that mindset really changed that method really changed my mindset and really made me see looking at properties a whole lot differently. Because Texas is always some place that I wanted to visit. I love barbecue, so it's really great. So finding a property or choosing Dallas and kind of changing my mindset really gave me more peace of mind in kind of going through that. Um, just to add on, after the kind of finding the market, now looking at the properties, I am not an aesthetic person at all. So I don't really know what looks good, what doesn't look good. So that was another piece that I felt was very difficult for me because I didn't really know how to evaluate a property based off its aesthetic, which is another area of improvement, of course, for myself, but an area where I felt that you provided a lot of guidance and support for that. Now, the last portion of that would be kind of now in the negotiation process. For me, I've never negotiated in my life. You give me something and I'm just like, all right, it's $10. It's $10. I'm just going to pay for it.
Yeah.
McChicken is a McChicken. I really thought that was my baseline background knowledge of just negotiations, which is really not any negotiation. So if for myself, the journey that we went on was we had to talk to maybe like two property owners with regards to securing the property, I I was definitely just willing to take whatever deal they were going to put in front of me. But thankfully, I think the big thing about the mentorship program for me was that I was able to kind of field all of the deals that were given to me and then to you, and you were able to kind of give your insight or kind of your background, your professional experience on what is right and what's wrong, or what you could kind of do to get some additional concessions for me. Uh, that I feel like those 3 points for me, the finding the right market, finding a property, and then negotiations were probably the most difficult parts of this journey. And I think that all three of those points you were able to help me tenfold, and kind of now I would say if I'm ever going to be looking to expand to other states, I wouldn't lean on you too much. Of course, I'll ask you for some tips, but I wouldn't lean on you too much to kind of go and find that property.
Yeah, glad to hear that. One last thing. If there's any advice you want to give for someone that's maybe in your exact position, whether they're about to start a family or maybe they are working something similar to a pharmacist job, but they still are looking for maybe additional income or figure out something that they could do to supplement it. Like, is there any advice or anything that you want to tell someone that's like in a similar position to you?
Yeah, I think that my best advice for anyone that is considering looking for side hustles or additional income that won't really directly impact their day-to-day life, I would say that this is kind of the way to go. And my best advice for you is really just the name. It's really just the Nike. It's oh wait, where was it? It's just the phrase that Nike always says. Just do it. Like just do it. Now you're if I feel like this is such a very large answer, a large question to answer because throughout my experience, um just looking for ways to make additional income. I think that there's a lot of data or a lot of resources or information out there that may lead you the wrong way. Airbnb was, or short-term rentals was something that I was looking into previously, and I did, experience some mishaps with other people who provide mentorship with Airbnb. And while I will say, like you're going to be able to learn from anyone. There are people out there that may not be out there to really help you as much as they are out there to help themselves. So if you're really looking for a program that with someone that's actually going to help you, you should probably do Kevin's program.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of free information as well. So everyone has to do their own due diligence for sure. Um, but yeah, that's all for today. Thank you, James, for coming on and sharing your side story, your process, your journey, and I guess, your overall portfolio right now as well. And glad that you were able to give some advice to maybe someone that will be in a similar position as you.
Well, thank you so much for having me today, Kevin, and thank you so much for all your guidance and support throughout this journey. I'm more than happy to come on here and give a little bit of insight of my journey.